On November 8, 2013, Typhoon Haiyan made landfall in the central of Philippines. With the wind approaching at the speed of 310 kilometers per hour or 195 miles per hour in storm-prone areas across 20 provinces, millions has been forced to seek shelter. Tacloban, a city of more than 220,000 people, were heavily affected, with 6,000 people now confirmed have died in the disaster. Damage was particularly severe in the Leyte province city of Tacloban. Many people's homes have been destroyed and people are desperate for food and shelter. Debris and continuing bad weather are hampering efforts to distribute aid. The typhoon was followed by a storm surge, which is reported to have reached up to 5 meters and flattened homes, schools, and badly damaged the airport of the province. According to National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, NDRRMC, 16 million people affected by Typhoon Haiyan, 4.1 million people displaced by Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, 1.1 million houses damaged or destroyed by Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. Greenhouse is a term used in conjunction with the phenomenon known as greenhouse effect. This phenomenon occurred when certain gases in the atmosphere trap the solar energy. That energy will later drive the Earth's weather and climate. National Climate Data Center has updated National on Global Climate for November 2013. The globe as a whole set a new record for warmth. It was the 37th November in a row that was warmer than average. Most scientists believed that the warming of the climate will lead to more extreme weather events. Global warming is an increase in average global temperatures. This phenomenon is indicated by 7 indicators: air temperature over the land, sea surface temperature, air temperature over oceans, sea level, ocean heat, humidity, tropospheric temperature in the layer closest to the Earth's surface. Drought is one of the leading impediments to development in Africa. More than 13 million people are still in urgent need of food and assistance after the worst drought hit East Africa in 60 years. Much of the continent is dependent on rain-fed agriculture, which makes it particularly susceptible to climate variability. The failure of both the 2010 fall rains and the 2011 spring rains caused a powerful drought gripped East Africa. Stacked in an unstable political climate, already caused a famine that led to hundreds of thousands of deaths. In this case, the failure of the East African rains was affected by climate change. Climate change and population pressures make the prospect for continued drought impacts and water scarcity more worrisome. Alleviating the impacts of drought across sub-Saharan Africa requires a transition from crisis management to risk management and reduction, including developing national drought policies, increasing coping capacity, and adapting to likely future changes at local levels. Snow has blanketed much of the Middle East. This includes Egypt, Syria, Palestine. After about 112 years, on Friday, December 13th, Egypt's capital was covered with snow, turning the desert land into a beach of white snow. Precipitation of any kind is rare in Egypt, so the rare sight of snow has been much talked about. 2 of the country's Mediterranean ports and 2 ports on the Red Sea were affected as several inches of snow fell in the Sinai Desert and elsewhere. In Syria, at the northern city of Aleppo, temperature on the deserted streets hovered around 0. A massive snowstorm in Alexa, or Syria, has killed 12 children due to severe cold weather, as reported by Syrian Human Rights Network. It also hit some parts in the northern Syria and Lebanon. Temperatures at these parts reached below zero in the mountainous areas, dumping snow and heavy rains. Meanwhile, in Palestine, the land was whitened by 20 inches of snow. It is reported that this is the city's heaviest snowstorm for 50 years. In Malaysia, the northeast monsoon season usually occurs from October and lasts till March the following year. Recent flood event hit several states in Malaysia from October until middle of December 2013. In Pahang, non-stop rain lasting over 4 days left this state almost paralyzed. More than 30,000 refugees seeked shelter at 116 evacuation centers, Pahang. It was estimated that the damage to 42 schools in 6 districts in Pahang has cost more than 7 million ringgit. Meanwhile, in Terengganu, torrential flood has battered the worst district at Kemaman, where the number of victims at relief center reached 19,869 from 4,901 families. Highest rainfall recorded is almost half of the average annual rainfall recorded for the entire state, namely between 3,000 to 3,500 millimeters. More than 68 hectares of paddy fields in Seberang Perai Utara Kedah, which had just been sown with seedlings, were submerged after floods hit the district. Seedlings would be destroyed if the fields were inundated for too long. The flood situation in the Manjung district worsened, with nearly 1,000 victims evacuated to 4 relief centers. The polar vortex has resulted in severe winter over the northern hemisphere, especially in United States of America, early January 2014. It is a fast-flowing stream of air that circles the North Pole during the winter months in the upper atmosphere, known as the stratosphere. The stratospheric polar vortex is a large-scale region of air that is contained by a strong west-to-east jet stream that circles the polar region. This polar vortex extends from the tropopause, the dividing line between the stratosphere and troposphere, through the stratosphere and into the mesosphere above 50 kilometers. It is widely accepted that climate change will have an impact on the spread of infectious diseases and communicable diseases, which is likely to bring about new public health risks. The transmission patterns of communicable diseases are influenced by many factors, including climatic and ecological elements. Foodborne and waterborne diseases, for instance, are associated with high temperatures. Disease-transmitting vectors, example, mosquitoes, sandflies, and ticks are highly sensitive to climate conditions, including temperature and humidity. Their geographical distribution will widen as climate conditions change, potentially allowing them to spread into regions where they are not currently able to live. Communicable diseases, for which the most common mode of transmission is the fecal-oral route through consumption of contaminated food and water. Communicable diseases: chikungunya, Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, Critosporidium, dengue and dengue hemorrhagic fever or DHF, giardiasis, leishmaniasis, leptospirosis, Lyme borreliosis, Lyme disease, malaria, rickettsiosis, murine typhus or rickettsiosis murina, salmonellosis, West Nile fever.